It's time for the View in Your Mirror podcast. I'm Katie Harms, and along with Lisa Rubin, we help you check in and curate the best possible you and the best view in your mirror. We share tips, tricks, and strategies from our 35 plus years in our respective industries. We talk about your day from morning to night and everything in between. We share our uniqueness, relish in our shared experiences. Along the way, we share conversation with fabulous people who give us their own thought-provoking insights. So come along as we help you hone the best view in your mirror. Lisa.
Do that one more time, Katie.
Lisa.
Katie. Which nobody wants to hear me sing.
That was very good.
Really? You're the only person in my whole life that's ever said if I did any notes would be good.
Well, I don't know that we actually went to a singing, if we were just using our trill. Well, here we are. It's midsummer, Lisa. It is midsummer.
It is midsummer, Katie. And being in Minnesota the whole month of June, it rained.
It was, yeah.
The mosquitoes are ginormous. They're as big as me.
You know what?
I saw one yesterday in my car while I was driving. Not a good thing to do. That's way too distracting, even to me, more than a phone. And I was watching this mosquito. Honest to God, it was huge. It was ginormous.
You were watching the mosquito in your car? That's the distracting part.
I know. That was not good. I actually pulled over and rolled my windows down to see if I could get it out.
You know, I've never done that with a mosquito, but lots of flies.
I don't care about flies.
Lots of flies.
I don't want that mosquito to bite me.
No kidding. I've not experienced that in a car.
Anyway.
Weird. Anyway, you know where there are no mosquitoes?
Where?
On the 2 patios of Rustica Bakery.
Oh. Really?
There are none.
Oh, I did not know that. So I don't need bug spray when I go sit outside?
No, you don't need bug spray when you go sit outside.
Okay, good. Okay, that's really good to know.
And they have really lovely patios at both locations.
They do.
Yeah.
I was just there the other day, actually.
Me too.
What do you think I got, Kitty?
You got a matcha tea.
No.
You didn't?
I don't. No, matcha tea? No, iced tea.
Oh, you got an iced tea. Oh, lo siento, Lisa. You got an iced tea and a cookie?
No, see, I knew you would be wrong, so that's why I said it. I got an iced tea and a scone.
Okay.
And I looked at that scone and thought, I'm going to eat that whole thing.
What
and
kind of scone did you get?
It was like a...
Currant?
No. Well, maybe it was currant. I don't know. I thought it was strawberry, but it was probably currant.
They just do such a good job.
But it's like when it goes in your mouth and you take a bite, like every flavor enhances your entire mouth. And it's just a scone. That's what I was thinking as I was taking the bite. I was with a client and we were meeting to just, I guess, have a therapy session. We were supposed to talk about clothes, but we didn't. And
speaking of clothes,
yeah.
But before we speak of clothes, but I want to get into if people get into like the midsummer doldrums or what's going on in the stores, and there's
I have a lot to say about that.
There's a lot to talk about. Before we talk about that, we want to mention Rustica Bakery. We love them. They are our presenting sponsor, and we're grateful for them. Bidemakiska, so right over, is that St. Louis Park? I think that's St. Louis Park.
I think it's Minneapolis. I think it's Minneapolis, but it's right by Punch Pizza.
Right by Punch Pizza. And Edina, Southdale. Mm-hmm. But in the part of Southdale where you can just pull up, get in, get out. Mm-hmm. Or sit on the beautiful patios, either place. I always like to mention that both have great parking and really both have great patios. And now is perfect patio time.
It is.
Rustica Bakery, rustica.com for more information. Now, tell me about what's going on in summer wardrobing. What's in the stores? Because aren't they starting to bring in fall? And
Katie, I have so much to say.
Well, get going. We have a limited amount of time.
I was on the phone with someone yesterday. So here's the thing. It's a hard time in July. Like, most of the stuff is either on sale, it's been there for a while. Very few stores are smart enough to hold stuff back a little bit to kind of keep taking some new stuff out for people because they are getting bored with their summer stuff, or maybe they didn't buy anything at all, so they want just a couple new things to get them through summer. Generally, fall will start delivering second or third week of August in most places. When I say delivering, I also mean online. Like, the clothes are ready to be shipped and sent, and people can purchase them. I'm not sure this year that it's going to go that smoothly. This is, I'm not going to talk politics.
Well, no,
but if
it's a very real thing.
If the tariffs
yeah.
are going to continue to go through, or if I don't remember what the date was in July, if they are going to be doing that, it's going to be a really rough fall. And when I say rough fall, I mean for the retailers, for the designers, for everybody who are going to try to sell their clothing, because a lot of these companies can't afford to have their stuff shipped at the price points that their customers are willing to spend the money on. Fall and winter is the biggest season for most people. And I even know this summer, I know 3 designers, vendors, however you want to call them, I'm not going to mention their names, but they could not even ship their summer collections. They're still sitting in a warehouse overseas. And so one company I know literally had to shut down and couldn't ship anything for summer because it was all coming out. When they punched the tariffs on top of it, they knew their customers were not going to buy it, and then all these people were going to be sitting with this merchandise, and they made the decision not to ship any of it. I think you're going to see a lot of that, and it really makes me sad because some of these smaller retail stores that carry multiple brands and do so well with them, and fall is their biggest time to make money, and they're not going to get their merchandise. I'm really concerned about it.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be looking at some slower times in the retailing industry based on, I think you're also seeing things stuck in customs.
Well, all of that. And so, shoes, boots, coats.
Well, so
what I've told people is, this is summer stuff, so depending where you're listening, right? So if you're listening in places that it's warmer for 3 seasons, go out and get stuff now, guys. Because unless something drastically changes, most things were ready to go a year and a half before now, right? But they still have to ship them at a certain time. And everyone is in a different place, right? But generally, that's how it works. So it was designed probably a year and a half to 2 years ago. It was maybe manufactured, depending how big or small the lines are, 6 to 9 months ago, right? But now it's ready to get shipped.
You know what, this is telling me a couple of things. One, if you're a person who has paid attention to your wardrobe over time, or like your clients, the needs are less great because their wardrobes are a little bit more cohesive.
True.
And put together.
That's what I'm telling people. So, just hold on.
Yep. So you can survive a season, right? Do we have, are there needs in air quotes? Are they wants as your wardrobe is progressing, right? So you can kind of look at it that way. It gives people an opportunity, if you truly love shopping, if you love looking for things, because there's a lot of people who like to do this themselves. They like to figure it out. They like to study the trends and all of that. Maybe this is the time to look at some different places where you're going to shop. Maybe it's the time to look at, what's the word I'm looking for? Not antiquing, but vintage.
Well, I actually think that, not consignment, but all
Vintage.
of the websites, let's say The Real,
Right.
and I can't think right now, my brain's not working,
Right.
but all of those type of websites,
Right.
they are gonna do big business, because people still like to buy things.
Yeah, they want new, they want a little different.
And there's always people that are deciding they don't want something anymore, whether it's because they lost a lot of weight, they gained a lot of weight,
Right.
they're moving, they're downsizing. So I think that those type of companies are going to do very well this fall.
And we may need to see some new things, and we'll want to pay attention to our local, or wherever you are, your local advertising and your local magazines. And we are fortunate to have Minneapolis St. Paul magazine here in the Twin Cities where we are, and that's a segue. What do you think of that segue?
That's
Lisa?
pretty good, Katie.
That's a pretty good segue. They've done some really great series on alternate shopping in the Twin Cities. So I bet you could go back and look for that as well. We have Deb Hopp with us, and Deb Hopp just retired from her role as president of Minneapolis St. Paul Communications, which is the award-winning content marketing agency of MSP Communications, right? So MSP publishes Minneapolis St. Paul and Twin Cities business media platforms. She's a native of Cloquet, so she's a small-time girl. Small town girl. She came to the Twin Cities to go to the University of Minnesota, went through the School of Journalism. She's had so many leadership positions and a really long list of volunteer boards: Walker Arts Center, University of Minnesota Foundation, Minnesota Orchestra Association, Children's Museum, United Way, you name it. It keeps going. She has served on the board of directors for 3 companies, currently serves for Lakewood Cemetery and Bachman's, and is a life trustee of the University of Minnesota. I think she most is proud of her 2 daughters, who are also in the marketing field, and we're going to ask her what her favorite title is now in retirement. So let's welcome Deb Hopp to the podcast. Deb Hopp, thank you for being with us.
Happy to be here.
We're
I'm
so
delighted.
excited.
My first podcast.
Ever?
It is your first podcast?
Never been on a podcast.
Oh my God.
Well, we're easy. We just talk.
Well, it's so funny because just to prep, because that's what I do, I listened to 2 of your podcasts again, or one I hadn't heard at all, but 2 of my favorite people, Stephanie March and Andrea Jaume.
Oh, yeah. Andrea. Both of them, really. Listen to both of us. Really, honestly.
She was just magnificent to have on her podcast.
She's regal.
She is.
She's regal. That's such a good word.
But
for
her advice to women on that podcast, I thought, was just...
She's wonderful.
And
She's just wonderful.
Stephanie just keeps
she's now
reinventing.
changed
I know,
again.
she's reinventing again.
Yeah, we used to call her at the company, we would call her the Queen of Fun. And whenever we had a company event, she would be on the megaphone and she was the MC. And every single time, and when she decided she was going to step away from full-time work at Minneapolis St. Paul, everybody was concerned, who's going to MC our parties? She's like, I'll come back.
Picking and choosing the parts that she loved the best, too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
really, she's got just such an infectious spirit.
And we did Stephanie in person.
We did. She was very early on in the podcast.
She got me so hungry at the end of the podcast because she was like talking about all this different food. I mean, some of it was off mic, but I was like, oh my God. I was like starving. In fact, you and I don't know if you remember this, after that, we were doing some stuff after, and we went and got punch pizza like right away. I'm like, Katie, I am starving. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. That was at the very beginning.
I know.
Well, she's so interesting because, first of all, she wasn't intending to be a journalist at all, number one. And number two, she's not a trained cook. but she is an instinctive cook. I mean, she just knows how to put flavors and things together and when they work and when they don't, and how to fix it when they don't. She's great.
So to
Absolutely
that
great.
end, when I think about you and I think about, you are truly a woman's woman in that you elevate women in your life.
Try
and
to.
you have through your entire career. And I had the opportunity to sit down and chat with you for tea, a while back. And that's what kept coming through and resonating. And you mentioned once that there was a guy that was interviewing for a job.
Yeah, I've done a lot of hiring in all my years in work, and maybe might have been at the magazine, I don't know what I was doing at the time, but so hiring salespeople is very difficult. It's one of the hardest jobs to fill, and often it isn't the person with the sales personality who you presume, it turns out to be the best one. But nevertheless, I would end up interviewing not very many people, because I would go to people I knew and say, who do you know that could do this, understanding what the job is, because you can go through, just waste your time. And I was having trouble hiring, so I ended up running an ad, which was not what I typically did. And so I had a whole bunch of people I was interviewing. There were a bunch of people sitting out there, and somebody must have seen this guy sitting out there waiting, and she's, can I help you? Who are you here to talk to? And he said, I'm here to interview with Deb Hopp for a sales position. And she said, oh, good luck with that. She generally hires women. And I don't remember who it was, and I know I didn't hire him, because I've only hired 2 male salespeople in my whole career.
Which is, when you think about that, it's really refreshing, right? Because there hasn't been a lot of that as we've come up through the ranks.
Yeah, and it was started for 2 reasons. Number one, women need help. And I remember I came into the workforce back in the days of the bow blouses and the skirts at the right at the knee, and hose and pumps and all that baloney.
That's when I started dressing people.
Working Women's Clothing Company.
Jacqueline Murray, FYI.
Oh, for sure.
Jacqueline was my mentor. So.
Well, she was wonderful too, and FYI was terrific. But
yeah, that's where I started.
Yep, and I worked for a very traditional company, Prentice Hall Publishing Company, and that's how you presented yourself in the workforce if you wanted to be taken seriously. And I objected to all of that, but also, I think I may have told you, I was the 7th female hired in the college division of Prentice Hall. And right when I was out of college. And I went to the training in New Jersey, and so it's people from all over the country, and there was maybe, I want to say there were 180 in the class, the new cohort, and there were 7 of us. And my roommate was one of the women who was in the first class of women at Notre Dame. Not St. Mary's, but at Notre Dame. And we got paired up, and we were friends for years and years and years. Anyway, we go into this meeting to meet the head of sales, and he's got a guy with a clipboard. It's Katie Harms from Minneapolis, whatever. And he gets to me, and this is Debbie Husu from Minnesota. And he looked at me, and he looked at the clipboard person and said, oh, I thought I had a toother. Because he thought I was Asian, because my last name was Finnish, Husu, H-U-S-U. And that was my first corporate experience of that. And the 7 of us women really struggled through that orientation. We were just, are you okay doing this? Or people were like mansplaining us stuff all the time, and drove me crazy. But anyway, so I feel like women have always needed a little bit of extra help, and particularly in sales. That's one. And 2, women are better at it generally than men, because women don't compartmentalize. They can multitask, so and they listen better. And women are more about making sure that everything comes out okay. They want to close the sale, but they don't want to close a dumb sale. And they don't want to close a sale that isn't going to be helpful to the person they're working with, where men just want to get the sale. And the fastest way to the sale is how they will go, where women will take the time to listen and find out what needs need to be met and how and if they can be met.
And they see the long game.
They want the
Women see the long
relationship.
game.
And
the
they want to have a
relationship.
repeat customer.
Yes.
And at least in the businesses I've been in, it's never been a commodity sale. So those are the two main reasons, but it hasn't failed me. Hasn't failed me at all. And when I left the company, retired just now, there's a sales manager, a gentleman, who has 2 daughters. And he's a big, burly, wonderful, fun guy. But deep at heart, he's a girl.
I think you have to be a special guy to be the father of all girls.
Yeah.
I truly think that, and I've seen it obviously from my own family, but I truly think that's true.
It's a great education for men.
It's such a great education. Now let's go back. School of Journalism, University of Minnesota. That's where you got your start.
Minnesota Daily.
Fantastic, and from there, I feel like your career has had this trajectory that you've sort of been hanging on to. That's not right. Not hanging on to, but that you've been.
It was unintentional. How's
It
that?
was unintentional. A lot of people go in with a goal and a plan, and you found yourself navigating a path that was almost like it was directed for you.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know it was unintentional. When I got out of college, my parents paid for my education and my books and my room and board, and that was it. And when I was done, I was done. And if it took me longer than 4 years, I was on my own. So I had a job before I graduated, and started the day after graduation, didn't even walk. Of course, back at the U in those days, you didn't, because it wasn't cool.
I didn't walk either at the University of Minnesota.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't cool then. You
I
know.
did not.
I regret it today a little bit.
I do too. Because
Yeah.
when I went to my kids' graduations,
I know,
I'm
you're
like,
just
your mom never did that. Well, Mom, you graduated. I said, yeah, I graduated. I have my diploma somewhere, but I never walked. I didn't
Didn't
do
even
it.
think about doing it.
No.
Didn't even think about doing it.
I know.
Isn't
I
that
didn't walk
crazy?
when I graduated, but I didn't graduate until 2008, which was many years after I started. So I went back and completed my degree.
And it took me more than 4 years.
Well, there again.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have dragged it out.
I had a little bit of fun.
I would have loved to. I just didn't.
I had a little bit of fun, so
Well,
anyway,
the,
it's okay, it all worked
The path
out.
is not always, but back to your path. So you came out and you,
I got a job at Sun Newspapers that I took while I could find a professional job. I mean, they recruited me. I'm like, sure, fine, I'll be happy to go. And I followed this guy around. He had the Edina territory, and I was supposed to learn from him. He had me pick up his laundry and put gas in his car, and it was
Oh,
just.
you're kidding.
No, it was just ridiculous. So I found a job pretty quickly, and at Prentice Hall, the one I just talked to you about. And I was in the college division, which meant calling on college professors in my region to sell textbooks and to encourage them to write them. Not a job I would have ever expected. It was not a good time to find work. I'm like, I got a job, I got a job, I got a job. And I traveled a great deal, but I didn't work in the summer because college professors generally weren't around, they did sabbaticals, or they didn't want to be bothered. So I had summers off.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I did paperwork and planning and things like that, but my husband was starting the Twin Cities Reader at the time, and so I would help with the Reader and sell advertising. I would write stuff, I'd edit stuff, I did whatever was needed, do just some design work, because I did all of those things at the Daily. And the Star Tribune, I don't know, 3 or 4 years into my job at the publishing company, and the Star Tribune went on strike. And my husband, who was really very brilliant, figured out a way to deliver the Twin Cities Reader to every door in Minneapolis so that it would supplement what people were not getting from the Star Tribune, because all news stopped then. There was no digital, of course. So hired a bunch of freelancers to write the kinds of things, daily news would write. And a Reader came out every day for 5 days, for 6 weeks during the strike. But what it really was meant to do was to provide an ad vehicle for all those huge companies, the grocery stores, the car dealerships, the Best Buys and the Targets and the Daytons of the world, who had nowhere to advertise in print. So he had me call on all those major accounts, because I'd been calling on, I had more experience than anybody else on the sales staff. So I got to know all those people. And it was really fun, and many of them stayed friends for a long, long time. The strike ended, and he just said, why stop traveling? Don't do that. Just come and do this work. And I didn't really want to work for my husband. I didn't think it was a good idea, but I had so much fun during that strike and made so many good connections. I thought, oh God, and the whole strike episode really elevated the Reader, where it was, an alternative newspaper, and there was a certain audience
Right.
for it, if you remember.
Absolutely.
But this brought it more into the mainstream, so now there were many more opportunities to put together partnerships and those sorts of things, which I went on to do with Home and Garden Show and the Auto Show and all those kind of places. So time went on, and we were doing the, you want me to get to that story, right, about the Cool Jazz Festival? Is that where we're going? Yeah, so
yeah.
I was running special projects. We had a dining magazine called Blonde, which I ran, and then I would do all these special projects, Home and Garden Show. We published the program for the Cool Jazz Festival. And I went to pick up the programs to bring them to the VIP party before the festival. And I drove down to Shakopee Valley News, which is where we were printed, and pick them up, and you cut open the stack and pull off the top wrapper, and I look at the cover story, and it's jazz greats who died of cancer. And it is for inside is the program of the events. And I'm looking at this, and I have to go to a gas station and find a phone, because of course we didn't have cell phones or anything in those days, and I had to call my husband, Mark, and I said, "You're not going to believe this." And he said, "Okay, well, obviously I will call the client and say you had a car accident, because you cannot bring those to this VIP party." It was sponsored by Cool, well, it's Cool Jazz Festival, but Cool had several other brands. I'm going to thank God forgotten who they are now. But so we had to redo the programs, and we're late getting them there. But my husband fired the writer who wrote that story, demoted the editor, who was the editor and should have looked at it, or at least said, "We can't do that."
Right.
Or didn't even question what was being put in the program, and told me I had to now become the editor of the Reader, because he didn't trust anybody else. And it was, I'm not going to get into their names, it was if I did, a hugely talented group of writers whose names you would all know now. And
But there's been mistakes that we've all made in our directionally. I'm sure they look back at that and say, "Wow, that was a big miss on our part."
no,
Hopefully.
not sure. Not
No.
sure about that. I don't
No?
know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, we're giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my problem.
Yeah.
Is I do that a lot
Okay,
with
but-
people.
But that was meant to be a,
that was meant for you to get to where you needed to be. That was one of those places
Moments.
where you were then catapulted to the next.
yeah.
You said something earlier that you didn't think you wanted to work for your husband. Why was that?
Well, I just think that's good guidance in general. You've got to separate work and business, and my husband was an entrepreneur, and they're crazy, right? I mean, if you know any, they're nuts to begin with.
Yeah, I
So
know
you
a few.
just, I just thought, probably not a good idea, and we're different, which is why we worked. He's the crazy one, and I'm the,
You're the steady.
steady Eddie one. But, and generally speaking, it worked out. It worked out. I don't regret ever that we worked together.
So I have a question. Telling that story, now, let's, 2025, right?
Yep.
How would that have been different today? Like, you wouldn't have picked it up, you wouldn't have picked up the flyers or the program, right? People would get it on their phones?
Well, what would have been different today is whomever was in charge of that project would have had the client approve what was being written before it was even written.
Okay.
Back, I mean, it was wild, wild west then. back in those days, people were just starting to create publications around events. So there was no real protocol. So as a result, you put in the protocol. We go through what the content's going to be. We look at it. We approve it. We have the client see it. You do all those sorts of things that just weren't being done back then. But what happened was it got picked up on nationally because the people who were involved on the editorial side made it a national story. And 2020 actually came and did a segment on us being in the pocket of big tobacco because we changed this program for a jazz festival. It was sort of ridiculous, but John Stossel came to our office and interviewed 10 people, and it was a big segment on 2020, and we had...
Because of the shift of the...
Because we kowtowed to the sponsor, who happened to be a tobacco company. This is right before cigarettes were told they couldn't advertise in many places, so maybe right on the verge of having those discussions.
Sure.
And, you know...
But when you think about it, I mean, you're running an event. I think you'd do the same thing 100 times over, because you look at that and you're like, wah, wah, wah. I mean, you're not setting somebody up to go, yay, I want to go to a jazz festival.
Right. I mean, there's so many ways in which it was wrong. But, yeah, we were under scrutiny for a while there. We had to change our phone number and
wow.
things
so that
like
became
that.
A whole big thing.
It was a whole big thing. And so then I was editor for the Reader for a while, and then publisher. And my husband was expanding around the country with publications like the Business Journal, and he had 11 at one time, and they were all supported by, not supported, but the chief advertiser in all of these was commercial real estate. And we were just about to hit a recession, and in the recession, commercial real estate went down like crazy, and he didn't want to get out of covenant with the venture capital people who were supporting and invested in the company. So he arranged to sell 2 of them to raise the cash to get back in the covenants, and they delayed and caused him to not be able to make that sale so they could take the company away from him, which they did. And he went on to sue them, and then he went to work at Musicland as head of strategic planning while he was in the middle of this lawsuit. He then became ill, and, well, I back that up. While this was going on, I was pregnant, and I did not want to work for the people who had just ousted my husband. So a guy I knew in the business came to me and asked me to take over another company that was in kind of a turnaround mode. And I agreed to do it because I wanted to get out of that running the company that had ousted my husband, and I was 7 months pregnant. Who was going to hire me, right? So I was able to do that, which I did for a few years. And then my husband became ill and passed away from an aggressive form of cancer when I was 39, and he was 43, and our children were 2 and 5. And we're in the middle of this lawsuit, and our attorney was a good friend of ours, and he was able to get it settled and put that behind me. And then the people who own Minneapolis St. Paul were starting a business publication, and they came to me and wanted me to help do the startup of what's now Twin Cities Business. And I said, you know, I've been widowed for 2 months. I think I'm going to be okay, but I don't want to fall apart on a startup. I can't. I'm just going to stay where I am. And then they came back to me a year later and said, can you come now, because we really need you. And I did. So then I've been at that company, MSB Communications. I was there 31 years.
And you kept adding on responsibility and moving through that company. And, but what a wonderful road. Well, what a mostly wonderful road with a lot of certainly heartache going through there. And then putting it all in the perspective of being a young mother with 2 children
that I had to support.
That you had to support.
In a single mom, I mean, you know, you had so many hats every day, all day long.
Yeah, yeah, it was much of it a blur. Much of it a blur. My daughters would tell you that I worked way too much. I can remember going to school for some school event, and my daughter in the morning going to school saying, "Now, Mom, go home and change. I don't want you showing up looking too worky."
Too worky. And now, where are those two daughters now?
They're marketing executives, and one here and one in LA, and very, very, very brilliant young women, and I'm very proud of them.
They're not too worky.
You know what? I think this whole next couple of generations, theirs and the one following, have a better sense of how not to be too worky. You know, I mean, when you're interviewing people today, I don't know if either of you are in a position to have people come to you and looking for work. They're asking you about, I mean, we used to call it work-life balance, which is a complete non sequitur as far as I'm concerned. You know, they want to know how rigid company rules are, and do they have flexibility. And we were always the kind of company that, you know, if your daughter has a soccer game, just go, get your work done, but don't worry about it. And
Did
that was always
stem
important.
from you? Did that stem from you as you had
know,
to put that in place?
Well, I certainly supported it, and
Yeah.
I looked the other way a few times on different things, but in general, it was the company culture. And, you know, we were owned by Bert Cohen, and then later he added his partners, Gary Johnson and Brian Anderson, and, you know, they're all very much supportive of people having life outside of work. You know, we've frowned on people not taking their vacation. We remind them, you know, you've got these days coming, you need time off. Tried to be a family-friendly company, and it really helped me to stay there all that time. I mean, I could take care of my children and do other things that I needed and be supported by that company, and it mattered a great deal to me, and I know to many others who have, a lot of people stay there their whole careers.
Well, you think
Which is
about-
unusual today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really mattered to us that we could have that kind of a workplace.
And it's been, your industry is a stressful industry because it's changed
Yeah.
drastically. And you're having to pivot in so many different ways.
Yeah, constantly.
Constantly.
And I think now, people who are in media of any kind, marketing, PR, whatever, the impact that artificial intelligence will have on how people work, it changes almost every day, you know. And I think it's an important skill for anyone to have in the workplace, to know how to use it. And there are people using it in the most rudimentary ways, and others using it in a way that takes their human intelligence multiple steps higher, because they've figured out how to use it in a way that is enhancing and not replacing.
That's a great way to look at it, because I know there's fear surrounding it, right?
And there should be. There should be.
Almost like, this is almost like the next iteration of when social media became big and people, you could see all the good ways you can use it, and now you look at it with marketing. I mean, digital marketing has to, like, as you're looking at your industry over all the years that you've arced through it, the changes there's changes every day, but then there's some big ones.
Yeah.
Boom, right? Digital advertising, digital media.
Right.
And how has that changed? And where's that going?
Well, you know, it's hard to know exactly where it's going, other than it's only going to get more and more a part of everything we do. I mean, you think about, I don't know how far away we are from having, instead of having an Oura ring like I have on my finger, I'm going to have something embedded somewhere in my body that's going to tell me all that stuff and read me the news or who knows what. But where it's predicting what you want to know and giving it to you before you go and seek it is probably where I think we're going. And that's been the job of good journalism and media all along, is giving people something they need and want to know before they know they need and want it. That's a good editor. That's a good magazine. That's a good newspaper. And it seems to me everything I'm reading is through AI. That predictive aspect of content delivery is going to go crazy. And it's just so impossible to imagine where it'll take us.
You wonder, do you worry about the groupthink or the directing thoughts in such a way?
Well, I think that's already happening. I do think that's already happening in the kinds of feeds you get. And, you know, traditional media, a tenet is fact-checking. I mean, fact-checking is critical to anything that you do and deliver to the public, and that is being lost.
Absolutely. Like, what are your sources?
And how does AI play a role in that? Like for fact checking? I mean, I'm learning about AI, so I guess my question, I don't have any answers, but how is that going to help or hurt?
Well, I think that if you decide you can rely on ChatGPT, Google, whatever it is, I mean, if it doesn't need to be sourced from whatever the delivery mechanism. Perplexity is not fact-checking its sources. They will give you your sources, but you need to fact-check them yourself. I mean, you see all the time, what was it just in the paper, the study about some drug and around vaccines, and a medical group that monitors research was saying, these studies that are cited in this paper don't exist. They never happened. And they're cited like they were, bona fides. So it's...
Including people's names on there that weren't involved in any of the research, yes.
Correct.
So is that a function of AI?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's pulling things out of the air. So what AI is an amazing brain, search engine, that pulls from a variety of sources, but it also iterates as it, so if you say, I need to write a paper on Romeo and Juliet, right? It will write you the paper, and you say, now I need all the sources. It'll pull a bunch of sources, but you don't know for sure that it isn't making them up. I mean, I don't know why it would, but apparently it does in some instances. Mm-hmm. So the veracity of content that people are being fed, and that's another big difference. You're getting fed things. I mean, I get stuff on my phone every day I'm not interested in, but for some reason, somebody thinks I am. So now I'm getting fed information where traditionally you would turn on the TV if you wanted to watch the evening news, or you'd go pick up a newspaper or a magazine or turn on the radio. Now it's coming to you.
You almost
unbidden.
can't get away from it.
Yeah, unbidden. And certainly everybody's curating information for themselves by saying, I do want this kind of information, but I think we're also getting stuff that someone else thinks we want, or they're paying us to receive.
Yeah, well, if you click on anything,
yeah,
I mean, especially for me.
God forbid you find a pair of tennis shoes you want.
No, I mean, but the interesting thing, like for me, when the way I work more of with my clients is that I sit on my computer and I send my clients links of things that they should order, right?
Right.
So you can only imagine what comes on my phone. Like I get everything, and it's not even for me. It's like, I'm finding all these different resources for many different people, but, I'm doing it from my phone, I'm doing it from my iPad or whatever, and, they're getting all my information.
Yeah. Yeah, and so a profile is created of you.
Absolutely.
That then gets fed information. And when you think about we think about if back in the day in George Orwell's 1984 and some of this stuff, we've eclipsed that by a lot, So I guess I certainly don't know where it's going, because I wouldn't have thought 2 years ago, AI was so nascent. I mean, people were like, what is it? What? Yeah, I should figure it out. It's the quickest adoption of any form of technology in the history of the world. Apparently. Now, I may have read that on a non-source source, but that's what
Did you check those sources? No.
but I find that pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And work that is data-driven and repetitive, it's a perfect tool to help ameliorate that kind of thing, data entry or sorting files, whatever. But the kind of work that involves human intellect and analysis and presentation can certainly be increased in its volume, because you can do more if you have an aid like that to help you, but you have to apply your own filters and intellect to it to make it.
Yeah, I mean, I use it. Katie and I just did our first live event in May, and I was using it just to see what would happen, because I do corporate speaking. I talk about, executive presence for women and men. And I thought, I'm just going to see how this works. And so I plugged in kind of things that I would say. Mm-hmm. And I would say, okay, so how would you say this differently? And so, I did it. I was like, for a couple hours, I'm like,
You got some good ideas.
I did get some good ideas, but then I did something old-fashioned. I printed it out on a piece of paper.
Of course.
And I laid out the pieces of paper in front of me, and I reread them like a book. And what I decided was, right now, that's not my voice.
Yeah.
And even though there were some great ideas of possibilities of how to say it to different groups of people, that was not my voice, and I could not use that information to do my speech. So I'm curious, in the next 2-3 years, is it going to get better about finding your voice or not? Or maybe that's something that people have to realize for, helping them do a speech or communications.
Well, Chat GPT has a voice. You can tell something that's been written.
Right.
But what's happening for people who are getting very good at this is there is a way to imbue what you need by teaching it your voice, and it can mimic your voice pretty closely.
Really?
Yeah. So there's so many levels of AI.
Yeah.
I mean, basic Chat GPT is nothing but a super search engine, right? And it gives you suggestions and starting points. But there are so many other way more sophisticated tools that you can use. My stepson is a neuroscientist, and he met this gentleman and heard him speak, who started a speech to an international group of CEOs saying, you're all using it wrong, and then taught them in this seminar how to use it correctly. And what my son-in-law is doing with it now, or stepson, why do I mean my stepson, sorry, is doing now is beyond incredible. And I couldn't even explain it to you in 15 minutes. You'd have to see it. But the sophisticated use of AI will change the way many, many things are accomplished. But very few people have
Figured it out.
taken
And
it
they
to
will.
that
start
and they
figuring-
will. And,
Yeah.
and people will, and we'll
And
have to.
how is that going to change, though, like, our grandchildren going to school? Like, the very basics of learning is going to change.
Well, think about writing papers.
That's
With
what I mean.
With a son-in-law who's an English
Yeah, like,
teacher at the high school level, being able to weed through, so that, because what your care is making sure they learn properly.
but what is properly now? I mean, these are kids that are going to be in the world, in a different kind of world. So if what we think is basic is not basic to them, because it's not going to work for them. I mean, I'm real worried that...
They don't teach cursive anymore.
That's
No,
exactly,
right.
it was coming out of my mouth. Like, I am going to teach my granddaughter how to use cursive, because they're not even going to know how to sign their name.
Well, my younger daughter signs her name fairly illegibly, but it's not cursive, and it's a modified.
Right.
I don't even know what you call non-cursive.
Well, and the interesting thing is, what is actually going to matter? But there are studies done with cursive in brain development too, right? So there are those types of things that you have to weed through.
Well, cursive, interestingly, is about connections, right? How do you connect these things together? And that's what makes it a learning process, not just here's an O and here's an H, but how do you connect these things together in a way that it's readable to somebody else? Even if your handwriting and mine and yours are not the same, but the ultimate goal is to connect these things.
Right.
And it plays into other areas of education, which is what I've always thought about cursive, and it's always disappointing to me to hear it. It's just gone.
It's
Of course,
gone.
it was terrible, those awful sheets that we had to write with the lines, with the green lines or the blue lines.
Yeah, no, I know.
And as a left-hander,
Oh,
of course,
terrible.
I always had everything on the back of my hand.
I am also left-handed, but I
Yes.
did not write like this.
No, neither did I.
Somebody in my early years, I don't know who it is, whether it was my parents or a teacher, did not allow me to do
Correct.
this, so I write like a right-handed person.
Right. I do as well, which is meaning we get the
The
right,
ink
we
all
get the
over.
paint, the ink all over our, and I
We
went to
should
school
sell
with the
left-handed
nuns.
writing gloves.
Oh, there.
It's a little sleeve.
Something that you just put on this finger.
There
Like
you go.
accountants used to put
Yeah.
in their,
Yeah, like the little finger things. Well, there you go. That could be, well, that segues us into perfectly is what does, I wish we could find a new word for retirement. I don't, because I think
Your
retirement
third
doesn't-
chapter, Katie,
Your
we
third
just did an
chapter.
event on
Oh my
this.
gosh. Okay, well,
Hello?
hello.
What are the first two?
I know, I feel like you got far more than
You're a kid, you go to
Oh, I
college.
see. You're a kid, you're an
Chapter
adult.
two,
and then-
you,
okay.
you're a mother, well, you're always a mother, but you have your children, you're doing a lot of things, and then the third chapter is
Yeah.
you get to decide what you want to do.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I'll buy that.
So what's it looking like? What are you working on? What are you keeping yourself busy with?
Well, I'm on 4 boards, well,
Is that all?
3, and that is really a cut down for me. So that's terrific. It feels really good. And one of the boards I'm chairing, so I have more time to devote to that. And I have joined a health club, which I haven't done in 40 years. I've walked, and we had equipment, in our house in Orono, but I don't have that stuff now. So I did it a little bit, but to actually go and do strength classes and bar classes and play, that is huge. And both my daughters have been pushing me to do this, and my older daughter, who has a 2.5-year-old, Will's getting heavier, Mom, you got to be able to do this stuff. So a friend of mine who retired a couple months before me and I have been doing this together, and it's been terrific. But if you do a lot of that, so I checked, I went to the club 22 times in June.
Good for you.
That's awesome.
That's a lot. It takes time.
It does take time.
You gotta
But
get
you're
there, you
enjoying
gotta.
it.
The self-care piece in your third chapter takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time.
And it's time that you're not used to.
No, I'm not used to it. So I will, you get home and it's 10:30 and you're like, geez,
But you're looking at,
day's half gone.
I mean, you look at the return on investment on this.
Yeah.
It's probably huge. And the more time you take in that third chapter, I'm speaking to myself here because I need to get a little
You're
more
talking-
active.
you're
I
doing
got
self-talk?
my Aura ring should show up today, as a matter of fact. So
That'll
that's-
tell you, that'll keep you going too. It's a good motivator to check that and see where you're at, but, so that for sure. And then, this sounds kind of crazy, and I don't know if I mentioned this when we were talking, but, my husband passed away suddenly 2.5 years ago, and, heart situation, and we had a really big house with a lot of property, and he collected, so I can't even tell you how many collections he had. It was full of stuff, and he was kind of a high-class hoarder. I mean, it was all hidden away, in a way. I mean, it wasn't like trash all over the house, but he has boxes and boxes, trains, and I can't even go into it all. And I didn't want to be in that house alone, and I didn't want to take care of that property alone. And So I spent a year with the help of his 2 sons, getting out of that house, finding a place to move into, renovating that, getting settled there. In fact, the day I was moving into my new house, my daughter went into labor with my first grandchild.
Oh, wow.
So when you talk about things that just
Yes,
happen,
yes.
you know, which was joyous day, of course. But so one of the first things I wanted to do when I stepped away from the company was to just organize myself. You know, put my I had boxes, everything just thrown into the house because Leslie had just had a baby, and people are just putting things away for me. And so I've been working my way around the house. I can only do so much of it in a day, right? I mean, an hour and a half and I'm done.
It takes up a lot of your mind
That's
because
exactly
as
right.
you're doing it, there's memories.
And you're getting
Yeah.
rid of things and getting organized. So and my my insurance stuff and my financial stuff. Where is it and how do you find it? And that sounds sort of boring, but it's important to do.
Oh, it's so important. Well, we had Pat Miles on,
yeah,
right?
well,
So we all know the benefits of doing this
Yeah.
because this is a gift you're giving to your children
mhm.
to have things organized and put in place. So I would say adding to that, giving them the framework for where everything is.
Well, and me too. I mean, I've had too much time going, where is that? I've got all these file cabinets and I get rid of them and just keep the stuff I need and put the rest away. But, yeah, Pat and I have the same birthday.
Really?
You do?
Oh.
You're St. Patrick's Day?
Yep, yep.
We're good friends, Pat and I. so.
Are you? Yeah, we also get our hair cut at the same place.
No,
But she used to be my neighbor. Pat's wonderful.
She used to be your neighbor where?
In, off Lake Harriet on Fremont.
Oh, I know that house, yes.
Yeah, it was a great house. Kids were little, we had little kids then. So doing that and spending as much time with my grandbaby that I can.
And you're not grandma,
Move.
you're not grandma, you're moo.
I'm Moo.
And is this grandbaby live here?
Yeah, Linden
Okay.
Hills. I'm 5 miles. That
Okay.
was a big deal in where I was going to move.
Yeah.
I'm 5 miles away. And oddly enough, they chose a daycare that is 800 steps from my house.
No.
Yeah. They looked at all kinds of them and they picked this one and it is wonderful. It's absolutely terrific, but I can walk by. So in fact, today when I was leaving, they were outside playing and he's yelling up and he's going up and down, Moo's coming. He sees me all the time and, makes me happy that I can do that. And
Do you get calendar invites about when you're going to take care of the baby?
yeah, sometimes I do.
Yeah, I get calendar invites now.
Do you have a
Yeah.
special calendar? Do you have a special calendar?
It just comes on my phone
Oh,
and it says
perfect.
Coco and then the times.
Yeah, I, wouldn't have thought to do
Sometimes I have to
that.
say, honey, you got to tell me ahead of time, but.
Oh, these are always, they're never out of the blue. It's always can you. And I always say,
Oh, no, she asked, but sometimes I forget
oh,
that she's
yeah.
asked.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah. She always says, Mom, I'm sorry to ask, but I'm like, ask me anytime.
Yeah.
That is exactly how I want to spend my time with
I
that
think-
little guy.
I feel like in my life, the only thing I knew for certain I ever wanted to do was be a mom. And now being a grandmom's just adding to that. And that's it. I don't want to be the day-to-day caregiver, but that fill-in,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the most exciting and joyous events that has happened in my life in the last 5 or 6 years is watching friends become a grandparent for the first time. And how it just changes them
Yeah.
in such a wonderful way. Patty, for example, your new grandmother. And I've had several friends in the last 3 years become grandparents for the first time. And
Because you don't know until you know.
And Pat's a grandmother of 2 now.
is she? Oh, I'm so glad. I'm
Yeah.
so glad. I haven't seen her for a while.
Well, I think I could talk to you I did, I found our get-together before going quickly. I think your just sense of hope and resilience, I think for you, but truly this
But women are
forward-looking-
resilient. We have to be.
You have a special ability to do that, and I think bring that out in others.
And you've had
I
to
hope so.
navigate yourself through tragedy too, like you've had to figure it out.
Yeah. And you just do. I mean, people ask how it was when Mark died, and I had 2 little kids. I had a job. I don't even remember. I don't even remember how that went.
And going through that twice. That's...
Yeah, very different, obviously, those situations, but
How many years were you a single parent
18,
before you married? Oh, wow.
yeah, after my youngest went to college.
Oh. Wow.
What's...
Good for you.
Yeah.
What's your advice for young women like your daughters? Do they come to you for advice?
No. Not much.
Because you're their mother.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Not about parenting, that's for sure.
Oh.
Because we did it
Did
all
you?
wrong.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh, we don't.
We don't know anything about that.
Oh, yeah, it's even better.
There's-
It's even better.
There's some social media posts on, millennial moms
Yeah.
versus, they're really funny.
Yeah.
They're really funny, but I'm in awe, honestly, of how they do
The
it.
care and
Yes.
concern and the research and
Yeah.
attention to detail and all that. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see, and to see husbands, the
Yes.
fathers be so active, parents.
Yes.
It's wonderful. That was not, my dad wasn't, I mean, he was, but you're not in that way.
No.
Mark probably changed 2 diapers,
Oh, I was very fortunate. Dana was super hands-on. I think he's a much better, I think the grandkids all like him best, truly. Do they want Pop? He's
Oh,
the
sure.
guy. And I think part of it is because they see him a lot less, right? So he's a little bit more special
He's
than
special.
they see
That's a big deal.
whatever I
To see.
am. Yeah, I think these days. Grandma,
Well,
we'll
you
see.
have to be kind of a rule follower. You take them to school, you take them to lessons.
That's true.
You take them
Gotta
places.
make sure they're
I'm
strapped
more
in
normal.
and they
Yeah.
have their lunch.
But
Yeah.
I'm more normal. I'm in their everyday lexicon where
You're
he's
just an extension of your daughters.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's the way it is. But it's still they're just sweet.
That's
you get
wonderful.
those calls.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I would say the advice I would give to young women, and it's hard now, is to be involved in your community. Get involved, and being in organizational structures that you don't control, and seeing how people problem solve, and see how people plan, and see how people resolve conflict is just, it's an education you don't get anywhere else. And all that board work that I did, I was better than an MBA in many instances. My grad school daughter wouldn't agree, but she'd probably sympathize with the sentiment anyway. It's a really great way, not only to build your network, but to build your skill set in relationship. Because those are tough situations.
That's great advice, but don't you think as your daughters get older and they go through different stages in their life, they might circle back to you and say, Mom, I get that now?
Oh yeah, I think so. And they saw me do it, and they understood, the network that I was able to develop at the company. People would ask if they were an FOD, which is a friend of Deb, which meant they came to the company because I knew somebody that knew them, and the network just grew that way. And I think that's important. Relationships are all we have.
That's true.
But it's also, let's face it, in businesses, it's bottom line. You want to be successful. You've got to pay attention to the bottom line on any business. So you found ways to efficiently get there faster, right? Because you had friends who you could count on. You built that network so you could then say to people, all right, who do you know? I'm looking for this in this position.
Yeah.
So my guess is it
And-
rarely went bad for you.
Well, and I've got this knotty problem. What would you do, or how would you advise me in calling people that work at, Macy's and Target and, Ameriprise and Travelers and places like that deal with really thorny things and have lots of people to help them, and they're great people to go to when you need advice. And everybody always wants to help.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. Oh,
Great
Deb,
advice,
great
really great
advice.
advice. Thank you.
Thank you. As
A nice way to close the podcast.
Absolutely. Before we close the podcast, we were talking about, we do a nonprofit with each of our, and you were talking about the University of Minnesota journalism school and whatnot. And so I was doing a little bit of research. Are you familiar with the Center for Broadcast Journalism?
Sure.
Which is a .org. We like to keep it as a .org, and the University of Minnesota obviously has all sorts of as an educational source, and they do amazing things. But I found this, mobilizing the next generation of journalists with reporting experience and connections to advance representation in the media.
Yep.
And it's a fairly new organization.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And George, founded by what's her first name? Fort is her last name. Founded by two women.
Okay.
And I can't think of their names right now. I'm sorry, but I think that's one worth looking into.
Yep. I've never been on the broadcast side, but the Hubbard School, this is a huge initiative of theirs to make certain that broadcast journalism continues to have a place in modern media, and that the importance of ethics and fact-checking and how you go about putting together stories and so on is really important.
And that's the Hubbard School of Journalism and Mass Comm, which is hsjmc.umn.edu.
I guess.
There's a lot of letters there.
There's a lot of there. You can just Google Hubbard School and get there.
Perfect. If people want to reach out to you, LinkedIn, best way to do that?
Actually, no, I've never, yes, I am, but I'm not actively on it. But certainly I would respond on LinkedIn. I'm on there. It's not like I hang out on LinkedIn like a lot of people do.
Is there a better source if somebody wants to ask a question or reach out, or?
I would probably just say on my email, which is debhopp331@gmail.
It's a new email for you.
It is a new email for me, and I gotta say, I just cannot get used to Gmail. Not my fave.
Well, it's a little different.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
Well, you can do another email.
I suppose.
I have a Gmail.
But everybody's on Gmail. So.
I have a Gmail, I never use it. I have my work email, and I have my personal email, and I have my Gmail, and I'm not a big fan of Gmail either.
Well, all I've ever had is a work email, so this is a big change for me.
Well, you could your kids can help you.
I know.
My kids help me. You can have another email that's not a Gmail.
Yeah, I have an Outlook one, but I don't use that as often. Yeah. I put my home stuff on there, like insurance.
Okay. And all that stuff.
Baloney. Yeah.
All right. Well,
you guys are great.
This has been truly fun. Thank you for doing this. I can't believe you were your first podcast. I don't think we're going to be your last. I'm just saying. Lisa,
well, you guys
always,
are fun.
We enjoy. I mean, truly, 5 years we've been doing this, and it's just been 5+.
5+ now, Katie.
Don't we have an anniversary coming up?
We already had it.
No, we did our first one, I thought, in July or August.
Well, yeah, but I go by when I called you and said we need to do a podcast.
So get your anniversary straight.
It took us 4 months to get it all, and it was in the middle of COVID, and we blah, 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 and I was so petrified, you have no idea.
Is this like the engagement versus the actual marriage?
Yeah, we were engaged in March.
We were engaged
right
in
after
March.
COVID.
Okay, married in August.
We were married end of July.
End of July. All right, perfect.
I don't know who the fact checker is.
We can probably go back and look in your computer. I sound like I'm 90. In your computer. But we've dropped 103 episodes.
Yeah, it's been fun. And it's gone by in the blink of an eye, as most any of the last how many years has gone by. So, thank you.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, Deb. We are at theviewinyourmirror.com for anyone interested in getting more information. You can find us on most of the social media platforms, and we thank you for being with us. And once again, we have a beautiful representation of the best view in your mirror comes from yourself, and you'll shine as you put it out there to the world, just as Deb has done and shared with so many of us. Until next time.